Alright, so this is going to be a video about the derivative of sine and cosine. And the reason I'm choosing to focus only on the trig functions of sine and cosine, because once you know the derivatives of these two, you can use the derivative rules to figure out the derivatives of all the other trig functions. And this includes tangent, cotangent, cosecant, and secant. Okay, how we're going to do this is we're going to use the limit process just like we did previously, only this time our function is going to be sine x. Okay, so I already have the limit definition of a derivative set up right here. Also what I did to kind of save some time, the f of x plus h right here, I just kind of put that down here, the f of x plus h, since our f of x is sine x, we're just going to have sine of the quantity x plus h, and then f of x for sine, because that's our original function. Also, before we start breaking down this limit, what I'm going to do is simplify this f of x plus h right here, because right now it says sine of the quantity x plus h. You can't really distribute the sine into the sine of x plus sine h, but there is a trig property that we can use that's going to make our life a lot easier when dealing with this function right here. And the trig property is as follows. I'm going to use this property right here to fill in for this function, and this is going to be really important later on. So I'm going to do that right now real quick. Okay, so now we're all set to go. Now I'm going to substitute in for this this limit definition right here. I'm going to substitute these two functions in up here. So let's do that now. Alright, so I substituted the f of x plus h and the f of x in at the top right here, and then we notice that we have this humongous numerator here all divided by h. Now we still can't just plug in this h using direct substitution, because then it's going to be non-continuous. At 0, we'd be dividing by 0, you can't divide by 0. So what we're going to do first to kind of simplify this out a little bit is this top part right here, there's a sine x here and a sine x here, so I'm going to factor out that sine x from both this first term and this last term of this minus sine x. I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, so we have this factored numerator right here. I factored out the sine x, so we have cosine h minus 1, because if you factor out right here sine x times cosine h, and then minus this sine x, if you factor out that sine x from this one, you'd have the minus 1. Okay, now we're left with something that doesn't look like it's any easier to deal with. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to distribute this divided by h right here into both of these terms. So this first term right here, this first product, and then the second product right here. Alright, so I broke down this right here. I broke up this numerator, so this part right here is divided by h, and the second part here is also divided by h. Now, why did I do this? Well, this makes our life a lot easier now, because this value right here, this cosine h minus 1 over h, I'm going to circle it real quick, that goes to 0. Okay, if you plugged in just this limit right here and you graphed it, or you use a table to numerically figure out what this ends up being 0. So since this part ends up being 0, it does not matter what this sine x is, because this whole part right here is 0. So you can just act like that goes away. And then the second part over here, we have a sine h over h. Now if you plugged that into your calculator and graphed it, or if you plugged that into a table, you'd end up having this be equal to 1. So basically what you would end up having is sine of x times this 0 right here plus cosine x times this right here, which is equal to 1. Okay, this ends up going away because it's times 0, and you end up with the derivative of sine x being equal to cosine x, which is correct. Alright, so that's the derivative of sine x. What I'm going to do now, really quickly, is do the derivative of cosine x. Now it's going to be a really similar process, and we're going to have to use this second property right here, but everything else kind of works out the exact same way. So I'm just going to kind of speed through it. If you want to look over it later, you can. And there we have it, the derivative of cosine x is equal to negative sine x. So the main things that you want to pull out of this video is the derivative of sine x is equal to cosine x, and the derivative of cosine x is negative sine x. So if you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.